Rise Against are really one of my favorite melodic punk bands because they've managed to break into the mainstream without compromising their style or message, at least for the most part. I feel like they hit a high point with 2008's Appeal to Reason, which was criminally underrated and overlooked, mostly because there were really no radio-friendly singles on that album, unlike their previous two albums, which again managed to break them out into the mainstream, songs like Swing Life Away or Ready to Fall, for instance. They released a track called Re-Education Through Labor, which was a very heavy, strong song, I felt like, but it definitely didn't have the same appeal as those songs. Their two follow-up albums, 2011's Endgame and 2014's The Black Market, both kind of try to bring things back, and they felt like they were just too full of songs that were simplistic in nature and just, again, written in a way that would definitely find its appeal within the mainstream. I felt like there were too many tracks on those albums which felt like they were drawing from contemporary alternative rock at that time period and felt like copycats of a lot of different bands and songs that were already more successful, at least in the on the radio and in music channels and things like that, and those songs were kind of neutered and toned down overall. There were a few good songs on each of those albums here and there, particularly off of The Black Market. There was a song called The Eco-Terrorist in Me, which felt like it would have been more at place in their second or third album versus on this album. It felt really out of place within the rest of those tracks. Well, I'm definitely happy to say that Wolves is a return to form for the band. The passion and honesty that kind of drove their previous albums, especially when they did kind of break out into the mainstream, is all back in full, just definitely in full force here. Sonically, it's not so much a departure, I would say, as even the previous two albums. It's just that it feels right where they belong. It feels comfortable. It feels friendly. It feels like it's Rise Against again. I mean, they have a mix of aggression and catchiness all along here, which is everything that melodic punk really should be, while not diluting any sort of message that they're trying to convey throughout this album. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of sing-along choruses and catchy moments and definitely things that were born from pop music and I would say radio-ready rock music in general, but it doesn't feel like any of these songs were written just to be a single. It doesn't feel like they sat down and said, okay, here's what's going on right now, here's what we have to sound like. It sounds like they just went in and wrote an album that they really wanted to, and to kind of get all these feelings out politically and everything else. And I really think that that's what helps this album just feel so cohesive and feel so warm and friendly again. To kick things off, you start off with the title track, Wolves, and it hits hard. You get the vocal work, the light instrumental vocal work as an intro, and then it just kind of explodes into the song itself, and it's right where they belong. It feels comfortable. It definitely is a great introduction to this album to kind of give you a sense of it, that Rise Against is back to what they do best. Songs like Megaphone or Parts Per Million really have this nice back and forth play with the aggressive verses and the more melodic choruses that you could certainly sing along to, and it's something that Rise Against has always done very well as far as that balance and capturing that feeling. If you're looking for something that's a little bit heavier or more aggressive or faster, there's tracks like Welcome to the Breakdown, or my favorite track off this album, which is just called Broadcast Signal Frequency, which is the closing track to this album. The latter really sounds like it could be something, again, off of their probably really actually their first couple albums. I would say between their first three albums, it's got that really kind of fast-paced, leaning more towards hardcore punk. You could really tell that they came up from that time period. And it's nice to know that they could still write songs like that they really haven't lost who they were or where they came from or anything like that. I mean, it still has that melodic feel to it, still got a pretty catchy chorus to it in general, but again, that's something that they've always done very well, and it is a nice kind of throwback of sorts on there, and it feels like Rise Against. This album really feels like Rise Against kind of just learn to love music again. Wolves is a true return to form for them, and it's probably the most honest and passionate album that they put out in a couple years or so. And it just if you're a fan of Rise Against, you're going to love this. If you like melodic punk, you're going to like this. If you like alternative rock, you're going to like this. I mean, there's just so much to like on this album in general. I'd recommend to anybody who's into any kind of that rock or again, melodic punk, anything like that. If you're into that stuff, it's definitely something that you should check out. I feel like this album, Wolves, is really going to please newcomers and old Rise Against fans alike. Thank you so much for watching the review of Rise Against Wolves. Don't forget to let me know what you feel about this album down below in the comments. Like this video, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and make sure you are following me on social media. Twitter at Metalloud. Facebook has a page you can like, which is just facebook.com/metalloud, as well as Instagram, which is metal_loud, just to stay up to date with all things Metalloud.